Hello, everyone. If you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing, liking, and commenting. It would really help the channel out quite a bit. Thank you very much.
The selective service laws to make changes which would allow draftees and National Guardsmen to fight outside the Western Hemisphere. The Republic of Panama ordered the arrest of Japanese residents. Mexico and Cuba pledged their support of the United States, along with several South American nations. Costa Rica, Canada, the Dutch East Indies, and possibly Australia have already declared war. In London, the Home Office declared a state of war between Japan and Britain, and police began an immediate roundup. Parliament is acting this morning to make a formal declaration. On the Russian war front this morning, the Red Army claims to have recaptured several villages around Moscow, wiping out 30,000 Nazi troops in the operation. Pravda asserts that Russian forces have now cleared the highway all the way from the capital to the munition city of Tula, 100 miles to the south. This news came to you from the NBC newsroom in Chicago. This is the National Broadcasting Company. America's favorite, the NBC Breakfast Club with Don McNeil.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning to you. We woke up bright and early just to how to do you. Coffee down and fruit and toast, bacon and skillet. Joe Galigio and his boys have tunes to fill it. So come on, gang, let's take a poll of this day's meeting. Line up, kids, I'll call the roll and say your greetings. Nancy Martin.
Well, how do you do?
And Jack Baker. Glad to see you. The Vagabonds, our guest today.
So breakfast, welfare, wake up and smile. It's not the morning happy, make life worthwhile. Good morning, breakfast lovers, good morning to you. We got a bright and early good howdy to you. Standing on the surface of the talk around there. America, alright. Soft breakfast love is on the air.
Good morning. No chance, please. Just good morning. It's December 8th, 1941, Monday morning. Fine day. Glad to see you around the breakfast table. Hiya, boys.
Almost solidly in the Mellow Grove this morning, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
fine. That's good.
How do you did this morning?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Glad to see you, fellas. Hey, good morning. You're public. They're waiting.
Right now, Mr.
Right now.
Mayor. Yes, sir. You can tell the public who don't say good morning.
Well, if it's anybody else but Pappy, I'm mistaken.
Yes, thank you. What do you?
He got there.
Hear me sing, I've got swing. If you're feeling blue, don't know what to do. Here's all I can say to you, get around, get around. If your rhythm sends you dreamy, and you like your something dreamy, that's when you should call to see me. I've got swing for this. If you think a waltz is horrid, and you like your rhythm torrid, till it makes you mop your forehead, I've got swing for this. Rhythm is what the country needs for years and years, I've said it. When you buy from me, it's C.O.G. I shall swing, but it's not for credit. So you often get your ration of my swinging sensation. I'll supply the incarnation. I've got swing for this.
some sense to see me. Oh, boy. I could jump to see me. And you should call to see me. I've got swing for sale.
Now, listen, boy, if you think so waltz sorry.
Swing is rhythm, gotta be tired.
Boy, I can make you mop your void. I got swing for sale, yes, sir.
Rhythm is what this country needs. For years and years I've said it. But it's back from me to COD.
Well, I still swing, but it's not false, baby.
There's no telling what can happen. I can start to throw the captain. I can set your fingers snap and swing. Swing. We've got swing for sale.
Yeah, that's what they got.
Yes.
Swing for sale by the Vagabond. This morning in Chicago, the temperature is around 35 degrees, more or less. And it's one of those blustery, rather cold days. The wind is really whipping around. And there are snow flurries scheduled to be in the air today. That kind of a day. I don't know how it is where you are, but I hope whether the temperature is bad outside, that it's all right inside. And I mean inside you. In other words, that you're feeling good this morning. Because we have Joe Galicchio here, who's feeling pretty well.
Joe told me you felt like there was a storm raging in his summer.
Is that so?
Yeah. Temperature's not so good today.
What? You're doggone.
What did you eat, Joe, last night?
Huh? Again, Joe? Again.
Forget it.
By the way, Joe, I understand, Nancy, this is kind of getting into your fancy territory, but I was reading somewhere that men's hats that are made of glass may soon be on the market.
Made of glass?
Yeah. It's going to be kind of tough on Galicchio, isn't it? That'll be one pain he can't bear, you know.
You know what? Maybe the rays of the sun, will go right through the hat. Maybe he'll get more hair.
But think of the other people walking along the rays of the sun. They'll hit Joe's head and smack them in the eye. He'll never get anywhere.
It looks to me like Joe's got a glass head already.
Joe, before you strike and lead the orchestra, will you? Just the downbeat, please. That was fine. That was called Two in Love, played by Joe Galicchio and the boys.
That sounds like quite a romance, didn't it?
It did. A little noisy, but nice. Nancy Martin came up with an idea the other day that I think is very, very worthy, and I'd like to have her tell you about it this morning.
Well, Don, it's just yes, we get so many lovely things from the breakfast tenders all the time. Not only their letters, but quite frequently they send us beautiful gifts and a great deal of candy and cake, cookies, homemade things. It was really fine. And I was just thinking the other day that inasmuch as there are so many of our soldiers and sailors away now, and I know that they appreciate just, well, possibly even more than we could, some of these lovely things that, for instance, the breakfast service in. And I was wondering if they'd think it was a myth or if they'd welcome the idea of our giving all the things that are edible or that the soldiers or sailors might enjoy to them at Christmas time. Because, well, you know, especially at Christmas, they send us so many things. Of course, if I get something, for instance, with 2 or 3 yards of lace around the edge, I wouldn't send it to a soldier.
No, well, I think it's a very, very fine suggestion. In other words, Nancy, what you mean is any gifts we receive that could possibly be used by our armed forces, we'd just turn them over to them for Christmas time, huh?
Well, I think it'd be a wonderful idea, and I just wondered how the rest of the people felt about it.
Well, don't you, Jay?
Doggone right. I think it's a swell idea.
I do, too. And I think we'll inaugurate that right now. Certainly, we're not asking for any gifts.
No.
That's a cinch, because you listeners have been more than generous to us in the past. We're not asking for that at all. But any gifts we do happen to receive, as Nancy says, it would be of more use to the armed boys and to ourselves, we certainly shall turn them over to them. Nancy, thank you very much for thinking of that swell little thought for Christmas time.
And don't think that isn't somewhat of a sacrifice, because some of those wonderful things come in will be pretty hard to give up.
That's right. I know how you like to eat, Jack and myself and everybody else around here. Well, eat, I said, Patty. Eat. Yeah, stop drooling now. Nancy is going to stand there and sing, why don't we do this more often?
We interrupt our programs to bring you a special news bulletin. We take you now to the NBC newsroom.
Ladies and gentlemen, here are some of the latest bulletins on the war. The Chinese government, which for 4 years has been the victim of so-called incident at the hands of Japan, this morning has decided to make a formal declaration of war against the Japanese, and also against Germany and Italy. The Japanese foreign minister has just made this announcement at a news conference. And here's a bulletin from Melbourne, Australia. The Prime Minister of Australia, John Curtin, has just announced that the Japanese have attacked the island of Nauru. And here's a brief summary of the war news in the Orient. The Japanese army already has overawed the nation of Thailand. Siamese troops have made a brief show of resistance and then quit. Peace negotiations already are in progress. The Japanese attack has seemed to switch to the Asiatic region. Tokyo's officers have attempted to land on the forces have attempted to land on the British side of Borneo Island. There they were repulsed. Singapore Naval Base has had a new air raid today, lasting 45 minutes. A Japanese landing on the Siamese coast near British Malaya was repulsed. Our own Philippine Islands have been heavily bombed, mainly at northern centers, including one of our Army air bases. So far, Manila, the capital, has escaped bombing. In the Central Pacific, Japan has attacked not only Hawaii, but our islands of Wake and Guam to the south. Since the first attack yesterday on Honolulu, no further activity there is reported. The United States fleet is somewhere at sea on battle mission. As of this hour, the nations that have declared war upon Japan also include the Dominion of Canada, the Dutch East Indies, Australia, Costa Rica, Nicaragua. In London, the government in exile of Belgium announced that it is at war with the Japanese. Holland's Queen Wilhelmina is going to address the world by radio at noon. She is expected to put all Dutch resources into the effort alongside Britain and the United States. President Roosevelt's message to Congress is timed for 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'll repeat that. The President is addressing the nation and Congress at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. The National Broadcasting Company's nationwide networks are now on a 24-hour basis. Keep tuned to your local NBC station for latest news. This summary has come to you from the NBC newsroom in New York.
interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
We have just received a bulletin. Britain has declared war on Japan. We take you now to London.
It is indispensable that in our system of government, Parliament should play its full part in all the important acts of state and all the crucial moments in the conduct of the war. He said, I am glad to see so many members have been able to be in their places in spite of the short notice. Mr. Churchill also said that instructions were sent to the British ambassador at Tokyo and communication was dispatched to the Japanese chargé d'affaires at 1 o'clock today, stating that in view of Japan's wanton acts of unprovoked aggression, the British government informed them that a state of war existed between the two countries. And I return you to Charles Collingwood.
So Prime Minister Churchill has announced a declaration of war. When Congress meets, everyone here expects that President Roosevelt will ask for one. That is one of the differences in the way the parliamentary institutions of the two great democracies work. The Prime Minister has fulfilled the statement which he made in his Mansion House speech on November 11th. At this time, he said, I take this occasion to say, and it's my duty to say, that should the United States become involved in war with Japan, the British declaration will follow within the hour. America is certainly involved in war with Japan now, and this is the British declaration of war. And now, John McBain again.
I remember that Mansion House speech. Mr. Churchill said that Britain now feels strong enough to provide a powerful naval force of heavy ships in the Pacific and Indian Oceans. He noted that this movement, in conjunction with the United States main fleet, would give proof to all who have eyes to see that the forces of freedom and democracy haven't reached the limit of their powers. And then in Mr. Churchill's speech, if you remember, he went on to say he'd always done his best to promote good relations with Japan. I now return you to Mr. Collingwood.
Another bulletin which has just come in, they're coming in all the time now, refers to the actual military event. According to Mr. Churchill, who just finished saying this in the House of Commons, the Japanese began a landing in British territory in northern Malaya at 6 o'clock local time yesterday, and they were immediately engaged by our forces which were ready. Mr. Churchill is presumably going on at the moment to say more about this landing in Malaya. His statement that they were immediately engaged by our forces was greeted by cheers, and in the official record it has the usual laconic British parenthesis, cheers. And now another bulletin from John McBain.
Home Office measures against Japanese nationals, Mr. Churchill said, were set in motion at 10:45 last night. The House will see, therefore, he said, that no time has been lost, and we are actually ahead of our engagements. I'll hand you over to Charles Collingwood.
Well, the British papers, which were printed, of course, before Mr. Churchill made his declaration in the House of Commons, had some interesting comments to make. The Daily Express this morning thought the bluff is over. The war that Japan has meant all these years in all her dealings with Britain and America is open war at last. Don't expect the early stages of the sea fighting to be easygoing for America. And now another bulletin has just come into the studio. John McBain.
Mr. Churchill informed the House of Commons that the Royal Netherlands government at once marked their solidarity with Great Britain and the United States at 3 o'clock this morning by stating that as a consequence of Japan's action, a state of war now exists between the Kingdom of the Netherlands and Japan. I'll hand you to Mr. Collingwood.
Well, this has been a weekend of declarations of...
Yes. Mr. Churchill today stated in the House of Commons that Britain has declared war on Japan. I'll hand you to Charles Collingwood.
We've just got another bulletin in. Mr. Churchill says that when the war was declared, instructions were sent to the British ambassador in Tokyo, and a communication was dispatched to the Japanese chargé d'affaires at 1 o'clock today. That's 1 o'clock British time, which is 2 hours and 20 minutes ago.
This communication informed the Japanese charge d'affaires that we had learned that Japanese forces, without previous declaration of war, had landed on the coast of Malaya. The British cabinet, as we've already told you, met at 12:30 today and authorized the declaration of war on Japan. The message to the Japanese charge d'affaires then followed within half an hour. Mr. Churchill did not think that it was necessary to wait for a declaration of war by the United States Congress before declaring war on Japan himself. And so he jumped the gun on his Mansion House speech, which indicated that the declaration of war would follow within the hour. The general British point of view in this crisis that confronts the world now is that America and Britain's record has been clear in the negotiations that have been going on. As the Daily Telegraph said this morning, all that lay in the power of wise statesmanship to do has been done to advise Japan against the crowning of her desperado's record with this last proof of political insanity. And now for another bulletin. Go ahead, John McVeigh.
Mr. Churchill told the House of Commons that he sent a message yesterday to the ruler of Thailand telling him that Britain would regard an invasion of his country as an attack on herself. Mr. Churchill said he had also sent a message to General Chiang Kai-shek, assuring him that henceforward Britain and China would face the common foe together. I'll now hand you over to Charles Collingwood.
The British have been using a good deal of strong language about Japan and her latest acts of aggression. One of the most strong is in this morning's tabloid, the Daily Mirror, which says, "No doubt this last of the hungry jackals is only too willing to support the other robbers. Yet her plunge is a signal of despair, as well as a symptom of madness. The yellow dream will end in a nightmare of black defeat and despair." Another bulletin from John McVeigh.
Mr. Churchill revealed to the House of Commons that Japanese envoys were ordered to prolong their mission in the United States in order to keep conversations going while a surprise attack was being prepared and before a declaration of war could be delivered. No one can doubt, Mr. Churchill said, that every effort to bring about a peaceful solution has been made by the government of the United States and that immense patience has been shown in the face of the growing Japanese menace. I'll hand you over to Charles Collingwood.
The latest Japanese aggression has taken here in London as the final crowning death blow to her present political system. There was as I was walking down the street today, I noticed one of those placards that British newsboys put out to advertise their papers. And on this placard was chalked in a rude hand, "Japan commits harakiri." And the thing about that was that everybody knew exactly what the newsboy meant. The war is now worldwide, is the general conclusion of most Englishmen. America, which was yesterday the arsenal of Britain and Russia, has from today to deal in addition with immediate problems of self-defense. And that raises the question in British minds of the future of American supplies to Britain. Everyone here is wondering about that. Everyone is anxious about it because these American supplies that have been coming here have been very useful. The Japanese attack, according to most observers, will have the effect of pushing American production to the peak much more rapidly than would otherwise have been the case. But, so they say, it will also require yet a further diversion of supplies which were destined for Britain. Greater than ever, therefore, is Britain's need to organize her own production without delay to the limit of efficiency. That's what British observers are saying. And now let's see whether John McVeigh has got anything more or any comments to make on the speech that Mr. Churchill is now making in the House of Commons.
We haven't had anything yet, but I think that the British reaction is still very, very interesting. In recent months, as they watch American opinion, the British have felt that a fantastic unreality was present in United States politics. The argument that America wasn't vitally concerned in this war made them wonder why some American politicians hadn't learned but a bitter experience of Britain as well as France and the rest of the nations that have fallen before the Axis. Now the British think Japan's attack on Hawaii will clear the thinking in America. The thinking especially of those Americans who felt they weren't really at war until United States soil was attacked. British soil has been attacked a good many times. The British know what it feels like, and they'd rather do their fighting in Libya, Japan, or Germany than in Britain. Now, here we have another snap that's just come in from the House of Commons. Mr. Churchill said that although the imperative demands in Europe and in Africa have strained Britain's resources, the House of Commons and the British Empire will have noticed that some of the finest ships in the Royal Navy have reached their stations in the Far East at a very convenient moment. I'll hand you over to Charles Collingwood.
That reference of Mr. Churchill to British reinforcements in the Far East reminds British listeners of the news which was released just the other day that the Prince of Wales and other undisclosed capital ships arrived in Singapore, and that the new chief of the Singapore command is a famous little admiral, Tom Phillips. He is only about 5 feet 4 inches tall and is known in the Navy as the Tom Thumb Admiral. He's one of the most brilliant strategists in the British Navy and is described as all brain and no body. Mr. Churchill is still speaking in the House of Commons, and we have a very short bulletin which has just come in. He says in typical Churchillian language, "In the past, we have had a light which flickered. In the present, we have a light which flames, and in the future will be a light which shines over all the lands and seas." And now back to John McVane.
Under the hammering, I think it's interesting in view of what Mr. Churchill said to note that under the hammering of war, bombing, and defeats, Britain has become a simpler, better country to live in than it was in the Munich days. Its attack by Japan and the Japanese declaration of war has brought a lot of excitement, but no turmoil to this country. And the average Britisher feels it's just an expected extension of the battle. I'll hand you over to Charles Collingwood.
In the House of Commons now, Mr. Churchill begins to refer to the United States. He has just said, quote, "It only remains now for the two great democracies to face the tasks with whatever strength God may give them. We must hold ourselves," he said, "very fortunate, and I think we may rate our affairs not wholly ill-guided, that we were not attacked alone by Japan in our period of weakness after Dunkirk, or at any time in 1940 before the United States fully realized the dangers which threatened the whole world and made large advances in military preparations." That's the last word which we've had from Mr. Churchill. He's still speaking, and he's probably still speaking on the topic of American relations with Great Britain and the growing closeness between them, which is one of the things which people here count most highly in this crisis which is now going on. John McVane has just received another bulletin from the newsroom, quoting Mr. Churchill.
Mr. Churchill said that so precarious and narrow was the margin on which we then lived that we did not dare to stress the sympathy which we had all along for the heroic people of China. I'll hand you over to Charles Collingwood.
And now Mr. Churchill's speech is still coming in, but it's running a little slow now, and so we return you to New York.
You have just heard a special program from London in connection with Britain's declaration of war on Japan. Now, here's some late bulletins we've just received here at our NBC newsroom in New York. Briefly, here's a summary of the latest events here in the Far Eastern battleground. The Japanese already have overpowered the tiny nation of Thailand. The Siamese army fought only briefly, then gave up the struggle, and peace negotiations are now in progress. Our American bases in the Philippine Islands have been attacked by Japanese bombers. But up to this hour, apparently Manila, the capital, has escaped attack. One Japanese landing along the thin peninsula of Malaya and Thailand has also been repulsed by British troops. Another Japanese attack upon the British coast of Borneo also was frustrated. The Chinese government has formally declared war upon not only Japan, but Germany and Italy as well. This summary has come to you from the NBC newsroom in New York. America's favorite, the NBC Breakfast Club, was Don McNeil.
Good morning, we like to see you smile. Good morning, it makes your life worthwhile. It's our third call to breakfast, and marching time is near. So why not march and listen? We'll play it for you here. Good morning, this comes right from the heart. Good morning, let's go, it's time to start. With our songs and laugh appeal, serve to brighten up your meal. Good morning, take a cue from Don McNeil.
All right, friends, as we have every morning, but with even more spirit, we march for the United States Armed Forces, wherever they may be. Everybody, march! Nice marching, everybody. Now, Nancy, let's do a little play this morning, shall we?
Fine, let's do.
The scene is a college in College Park, Georgia.
Yeah, you're getting lots of new ones lately.
Oh, yes.
No more Davenport now.
Well, we'll come back to that sometime or other.
About comics, what you
Yeah.
Joe Miller.
All right. Okay,
Yeah.
Nancy, I am the professor and you're a student, eh?
Uh-huh.
And you come into my office and you say,
Oh, Professor, you're wonderful.
Good.
Did you read the paper I turned in for the exam? Oh, good. Let me kiss you, Professor. There. Oh, whatever do you think of me now that I've kissed you?
You'll pass.
Not that I doubt the love that you have for me. It's not that I doubt the warmth that is in your skin. Although our skies are clear, if ever clouds appear, darling, please promise me this. Be fair. Whatever you do, be fair. Won't you, sweetheart? You know just how much I care. Don't you? If you should ever discover your heart made a little mistake, don't try to hide what you're feeling inside. We still can be friends, though our love affair ends. Be fair whenever we're far apart. Won't you know I love you with all my heart? Don't you? Let's enter into a bargain. Oh, darling, here's what we'll do. Be fair with me, and I'll be fair with you.
nice, Nancy. It's lovely indeed. Say, Joe, brush off a nice chord in G for me, will you? Because I would like you to send it all the way to Kansas City, Missouri, where station KCMO, I am informed, is inaugurating their joining of the network this morning by taking the breakfast club, which they will take from now on. Jack Stewart, the genial general manager of radio station KGMO in Kansas City, Missouri, informs me, and we're mighty happy to have him with us. Shoot him a chord in G, will you, Joe, boys? There you are, Kansas City. Swell being with you, and swell having you with us. Hope you will be for a long time with us around the breakfast table of the air. Go and talk to a couple of our breakfast club friends here this morning who are with us. For example, we have a fellow named Willard Dean of Shreveport, your old hometown, Louisiana, Jack.
Boy. Sure.
Leaving for South America.
Where's the man?
Huh? I don't know. Where is the man? Oh, way back there, huh? Would you mind coming over here and meeting me halfway? Okay, as long as you're going way to South America, why, you won't mind a little trip like this. Where are you going to go in South America, sir?
It's British West Indies, off the coast of South America.
Off the coast of South America. Fine. When are you leaving?
Leave this afternoon, 3:30.
Oh, that's all? You're flying down or?
Boat.
Both, huh? Well, fine. Willard, best of luck to you.
Thank you very much.
And when you get back, drop in and see us again, will you?
I'll certainly do.
All right, swell, boy. We have a lady with a very nice name, if I can pronounce it. Anna DeLucia. I think that would be. That's the way you pronounce Santa DeLucia. She's from Chicago, I believe. Is that pronounced right?
DeLuca.
DeLuca.
That's right.
I thought two C's were
No, it's you.
well, pardon me for when I said I didn't mean to get you there. You're looking for a job, are you?
That's right.
Fine. I have to show you going looking for a job.
That's right.
What kind of job are you looking for?
Clerical.
Clerical one,
Yeah.
huh? Well, I hope you find it. After you do, sneak off sometime. Come back here and tell us about it. All right. Well.
Don.
Yes, Jack.
Maybe I could use a secretary, but there are a few requirements that I would ask.
Oh, I see. What, for example?
Well, you suppose would she be able to sit on my knee and take a letter? Huh?
Jack, anybody that could find your knee when you're sitting down would have to be a magician, not a secretary. Have we got Chime with us this morning on the breakfast table? Where is he? I don't see him. Yeah, we haven't. What? Mrs. Guy Masson is here? Well, how do you do, Mrs. Masson? How are you?
Fine, thank you.
You're not kind.
We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast. We take you now to London.
The new dangers, either here or in the United States. The enemy is attacked with an audacity which may spring from recklessness, but which might also spring from conviction of strength. We have no reason to doubt, said Mr. Churchill, the justice of our cause, or that our strength and willpower will be sufficient to sustain it. We have at least 4/5 of the population of the globe upon our side. We are responsible for their safety and for their future. In the past, we had a light which flickered in the present. At present, we have a light which flames. And in the future, there will be a light which shines over all the land and sea. Mr. Churchill has now finished speaking in the House of Commons. Most observers, I think, will agree that this was not one of Churchill's great examples of oratory. He was sober, dignified, and calm.
Mr. Churchill has just said that when we think of the insane ambition and the insatiable appetite which have caused this vast and melancholy extension of the war, we can only feel that Hitler's madness has infected the Japanese minds, and that the root of the evil and its branch must be extirpated together. The Prime Minister went on to say that it is of the highest importance that there should be no underrating of the gravity of the new dangers that Britain has to meet with here or in the United States. The enemy has attacked with an audacity, he said, which may spring from recklessness, but which may also spring from a conviction of strength. And Mr. Churchill predicted that the war may probably be long.
After Mr. Churchill was finished, a general debate began. The first speaker was Mr. Lee Smith of Labor, who pointed out the old question which is bothering many British people here today, which is what's going to happen to American supplies to Britain. And this is what Mr. Lee Smith said. A consequence of Japan's aggression might be that the equipment of the United States might be delayed and to some extent diverted. This was an an occasion, therefore, he said, which again calls for unceasing toil from the workers of this country.
Members of the House of Commons, it was noted today, cheered loudly when Mr. Churchill said that British forces had engaged the Japanese who began landing in British territory in northern Malaya about 6 a.m., 1 a.m. local time yesterday. It seems pointed out by observers in London today that the Japanese attack followed traditional Japanese lines because the Japanese started their war with Russia 35 or so years ago by attacking Port Arthur before declaring war. And the Japanese followed Hitler's technique in picking the opponent who looks the toughest and hitting him with everything you have.
One of the things which British observers, as I've said, are bothered about is the possible decrease of American supplies to Britain. And one of the things they're pleased about is the fact that America seems to be unified as never before. Mr. Lee Smith, the Laborite speaker who followed Mr. Churchill in the House of Commons, tied these two together. And he said that Japan's attack on the United States and the consequent possibility of a delay in American equipment might be an occasion which called for unceasing toil from the workers of this country and should unify this country more than anything else. The rest of the meeting in the House of Commons is still going on. The sitting lasted only half an hour.
Before news of the Japanese declaration of war on Britain arrived here yesterday, there wasn't the slightest trace of hesitancy in Britain. The British, by that I mean everyone, were ready to move at once against Japan in fulfillment of Mr. Churchill's pledge to America. The Japanese declaration of war against this country and Japanese attacks on the British Empire have only deepened the British determination to smash the Axis.
The half-hour sitting in the House of Commons is now finished. Mr. Churchill has made his speech in which he announced that Great Britain is at war with Japan. And now the House has resumed, the House has finished its sitting, and we have no more news of it, and now we return you to our studios in New York.
Keep tuned to this station for further news. We return you to our regular program.
Played by Joe Galicchio and the boys. And you're listening to the Breakfast Club, ladies and gentlemen. And here is good old friend Jack Baker.
Well, look, Joe may want to be happy, but it's awful hard for me to be happy.
What's the matter with you?
Well, I've got budget trouble again.
Oh, yeah.
My budget needs a nudging.
Yeah.
Yeah. So starting off Monday by making it a Sunday may be easy to say to do. But for me, I say to you, my Monday is blue. Boo-hoo. That's the title.
That's the title.
All right, here's my budget. 3 balls of darning wool, 50 cents each, $2.25.
What's that? What?
3 balls of darning wool, 50 cents each. Darning wool, 50 cents each, $2.25.
Yeah, that's $1.50.
Yeah. Well, look, I bought 2 and I went back the next morning. Wool had gone up.
Oh, you're right there.
So I wanted it to darn my woolen socks for winter.
You did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then I had to buy 6 spools of darning cotton, 5 cents each, 20 cents.
Yeah.
I picked the cotton for the guy. So.
Oh, that's good.
I had to get this darning cotton to darn my underwear for the winter.
Yeah.
It's all full of holes.
It is.
Yeah. And I bought 4 spools of darning silk. That didn't cost nothing.
Yeah.
Didn't cost anything.
What's that? Who's that for?
That's for Joe.
Galicchio?
Yeah, Galicchio. Joe paid for it if I would promise to darn the silk lace on the end of the shirt tail.
Oh.
And if you don't believe he's got lace on his shirt tail, ask him to show you.
Why, Joe. I don't believe it. Huh?
Well, he has, too.
Well, he's also got his hands full. He's going to find out this morning. All right. And now here's Jack Baker singing Till Reveille for you. Thank you, Jack. And now for inspiration time around the breakfast table this morning. Inspiration time. Just a reminder, friends, that whatever happens, no matter how black things may look, or mothers who possibly have boys away from home who might not be able to get home this Christmas, don't you lose your Christmas spirit this year, because the greatest single gift that we people of the Americas possess is a faith in God and a sense of humor. And also, don't forget, sometimes you can strike a giant who is dozing momentarily. When the giant is awakened, look out. So, whatever else we lost among the years, let us keep Christmas still a shining thing. And whatever doubts assail us or what fears, let us hold close one day, remembering its poignant meaning for the hearts of men. And let's get back our childlike faith again. Wealth may have taken wings, and yet still there are clear window panes to glow with candlelight, and there are boughs for garlands, and a tinsel star to tip for some fir tree's lifted height. And there's no heart too heavy or too sad, but some small gift of love can make it glad. And there are home-sweet rooms where laughter reigns, and we can sing the carols as of old. And above the eastern hills a white star swings, and there's an ancient story to be told. Oh, there are kind words and cheering words to say, so don't forget, let's be happy on the Christ Child's Day. White Cliffs of Dover. Just played by Joe Galicki and the boys for inspiration time. Now listen to those vagabonds playing How Would I Love You Again.
I'd love you again if you give me the chance. I'd love you again just like a new romance. Just like a new romance. I'd forget the many tears I've shed in the past and think of the future years, hoping this time it would last. I'd love you again and forgive every lie. I'd even forget we ever said goodbye. I fooled myself completely, believing that love was true. I love you again, 'cause I've never stopped loving you.
Nice going, boys. Now here's one we can all kind of hum together along with Nancy and Jack. Good old favorite. Shine on, Harvest Moon.
Oh, shine on, harvest moon, up in the sky. I've had no other than April, January, June, or July. No time, ain't no time to spend. Our darkest room, so shine on, harvest moon, for me and my gal.
Thank you, kids. That's swell. Just before I call on Bill Kranz this morning, I want to show you that Santa Claus is very active these days. In fact, P.C. Henby Jr. down in Kingston, North Carolina, has sent me Santa Claus's answer to a little boy's letter. Probably your little boy and little gal is writing letters to Santa Claus these days. Well, Santa Claus answered one little boy, and here's what he wrote. He said, "Dear Johnny, I received your letter last week, and I was glad to learn that you've been so mild and meek. And you say that you've been mighty good, so you want a pretty red car with a long, shiny hood. You also say that you study every night, and you help your mother with all your might, and you milk all the cows and feed the hogs and clean up the house and cut the logs. And you tell me that you're so nice and never play rough. But, Johnny, you just didn't tell me enough. Do you remember not so very long ago when you pushed little Jack's head deep in the snow? And a month before that at your cousin's party, you put a frog down her back and acted like a smarty? And who was it that put that tack on the seat that caused old Mrs. Brown to jump 20 feet? And why didn't you mention the day you skipped school for a hike in the woods or a swim in the pool? So from now on, Johnny, don't you keep anything from me, and you'll find your red car right under your Christmas tree." Yeah, got a good idea there.
That gives me an idea.
Don't keep anything back to Santa Claus, Johnny.
No, sir.
Leave him know what you've been doing. All right.
Part of it, anyway.
Well, he knows anyway.
Sure, he knows. And we know that Bill Kranz is going to play Make-Believe. Play it, Billy. four friends playing make-believe, and before you know it, the time is up this morning practically for us around the breakfast table. We hope you've had a swell time this morning, and that you'll be with us again tomorrow, same place and same time around the breakfast table here. We'll be looking for you then. Last call to breakfast.
So long, you breakfast lovers, this ends our meeting. But once again tomorrow you hear our greeting.
Yes, breakfast lovers, we'll be looking for you at your usual place around the breakfast table of the air. In the meantime, take care of yourself all day long. Keep a stiff upper lip, and we'll be looking for you tomorrow. Speaking for the whole gang here this morning, this is your Toastmaster, Don McNeil, saying so long and be good to yourself.
America is up. The breakfast club now leaves the air.
The Breakfast Club of Don McNeil comes to you from Chicago. This program is heard in Canada through the facilities of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. This is the National Broadcasting Company.